Hello, my name is Jennifer Sirena and I will be presenting on hate crime policy alternatives. The policy alternatives for this presentation will address the following issue. In 2019, 524 hate crimes were reported. Of those reports, 105 were motivated by religious bias in Los Angeles County. Furthermore, 58 accounts were in relation to vandalism as well. The first policy that will be examined is the current state law in California, which is the Penal Code 422.6 in Crimes and Punishments. This penal code mentions that no person shall injure, intimidate, interfere, or oppress another individual's rights, as mentioned in the laws of California and the United States Constitution. It further notes that no individual shall deface, damage, or destroy the property of another individual. Under the Penal Code, there are 3 penalties. The first one is imprisonment in a county jail not to exceed 1 year. The offender will also pay a fine that will not exceed $5,000 and will commit to 400 hours of community service. Under this policy, there is an expected amount of revenue due to the fees and fines that will be collected from the offenders of punishment. And then in terms of budget-wise, depending on how much court trial time is needed or number of staff that will be present during the individual's court hearing in order to assess their punishment or penalty, that will be accounted for in the budget. So personnel, staff, and then law enforcement as well. The second policy alternative is to increase hate crime penalties in California Penal Code 422.6. This policy will impose enhanced hate crime statutes, create longer sentences for offenders that have committed multiple hate crimes. For offenders that have committed hate crimes only once, we recommend restorative justice practices instead. The expected outcome is to see a decrease in hate crime reports due to the increase in penalties. And then budget-wise, it should be the same amount. It would account for personnel, staff, and court hearing time. The final policy alternative is improving hate crime reporting. Under this policy, it would require law enforcement to receive further training in being able to distinguish crimes and hate crimes, and being able to identify when the crime is specifically motivated by a protected class. For example, race, religion, sexual orientation, and so forth. Law enforcement will also gain experience and knowledge and training to be able to treat the victims of hate crime reporting with care and ensure quality service and ensure that there is a level of confidentiality between reporting. The expected outcomes is to we expect to see an increase in community trust with law enforcement, and then we also expect an increase in hate crime reporting just because of that level of trust between law enforcement increasing as well. Budget-wise, it would account for the amounts that the law enforcement agencies will acquire to provide these policies and training for law enforcement. So we're expecting about $5,000 in training materials for the cities across Los Angeles County. And the evaluation criteria that will be used to assess these policies are effectiveness, social acceptability, and administrative feasibility. Under California Penal Code 422.6, the effectiveness is moderate because it is reducing the amount of hate crimes. We expect it to reduce the amount of hate crimes. The social acceptability is moderate because it does keep the offenders off the streets. And then administrative feasibility is moderate because it accounts for court hearing and law enforcement time for recording these hate crimes. The second policy is increasing hate crime penalties. The effectiveness should be high, therefore it should be able to decrease the number of hate crimes. And then social acceptability should be high as well. It would be acceptable to the community and ensure safe communities as well. Administrative visibility is moderate as well. The only difference would be being able to distinguish the current state law with the increased crime penalties. And then finally, improving hate crime reporting. The effectiveness should be high. There should be a decrease in gaps in hate crime reporting and a moderate level of social acceptability as members of the community gain trust in law enforcement. And then administrative visibility should be moderate. There is also the possibility of contracting out a third party in case law enforcement do need additional assistance with reporting hate crimes as well. And then this concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.